3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope everybody is really looking forward to the weekend, and maybe this will be the thing that gets you, kind of brings you through the rest of your workday to send you off on a really great high into the weekend. Now, before we get started with our amazing speaker for today, I just want to go over some real quick housekeeping items, just in case this is your first Power to Fly Chat and Learn with us, or maybe you haven't been here with us in a while. So just so that you can get the most out of today's event, one thing that I want to highlight for all of you is participation, all right? So we prioritize this and we cherish it in our audience members. We want to make sure that you all get the most that you want to out of today's event. So you can participate in a couple different ways. You can turn your cameras on if you'd like to share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely. No pressure. If you don't want to, it's not required, but you don't need to be Instagram perfect. I'm on day 4 messy bun, dry shampoo combo. So like we're meeting y'all where you are, okay? Like messy bun, furry coworkers, non-traditional workspaces, bring it all right? We are here, we are happy, we are excited to have you. So if you want to turn your camera on, great. If you don't want to, that's totally fine. If you want to, ask questions or comment on what the speakers are saying today, absolutely, please do that. You can do it in a couple different ways. You can put any question or comments that you have into the group thread right there. If you would like to come off mute to ask your question, you can do that. You're going to use the raise hand feature, so that way I can give you all permission to come off of mute. But one thing that you need to know while doing that is if you do come off mute during today's session for any reason, you will show up on the live recording and the live stream that's going to our website and to YouTube. So if you have any kind of privacy concerns or anything, it's totally great. I get it. Just don't come off mute. You won't have to worry about it. But like I said, you can still send questions and comments into the group thread. If you are like super Black Ops, deep cover, don't want anyone to know you're here, that is all right too. You can always send your questions, comments, anything into, you can DM me, just pick my name from the dropdown, Meg Alexander, and I will raise your questions or your comments and keep you anonymous. Like I did say, this session is being recorded today. So what that means is, yes, this lives on forever in posterity, but even better, it means that you don't have to take notes. You don't have to worry about maybe you're multitasking, you didn't quite get the end of that sentence, or you're missing whatever resource was that the person dropped. Just, you can always go back and review the recording. It's really, really great. Now, if Olivia says something today that is so mind-blowing, and I say if, this happens every time we have a chat, but if Olivia says something today that is just like, I can't believe this, I have to share it with a friend or a coworker or a relative, you do not have to wait until you get the rewatch email from us. So to rewatch this recording, you can wait 1 to 2 business days. Everybody that registered, whether you join us or not, hi, future viewers, everybody's going to get an email with a link to where you can rewatch this recording on our website. Now, like I said, that takes 1 to 2 business days, so it'll be next week. So let's say you don't want to forget about this over the weekend. You can head over to our YouTube channel. I'm going to grab the link to that, like to our subscriber page in just a second here. But you can go over to our YouTube channel, and within about 5 to 15 minutes of the end of the live stream, you can usually then see, this video will usually be posted right there. So you can always check it out there. Now, while you're on that YouTube channel, you can subscribe. That'll make sure that you don't miss great sessions like today. So that way, if you don't register, you don't have to, worry that you didn't sign up for that. You'll get the reminder of like, hey, this great chat happened. Do you want to watch it? You can also follow us on various social media. We are at Power to Fly on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And we share all kinds of great content there. We share blog posts, we share job listings, we share tips from recruiters. So check out those various social media channels. It is a really good way to really make the most out of these free resources and free opportunities that we would love to share with you and love to share with our community. Please feel free to take video or screenshots or whatever you'd like as we go. Share them with your social media network, tag us. We'd love to share your posts and reshare and spread the love and spread the information, grow this community in a way that people get the resources they need. If you find a really great resource, you're going to share it with your friends and family, and this is a really good one. So hopefully we can kind of keep spreading the word that way. Now, I'm really excited to introduce you to our speaker. So Olivia Jaras is joining us today. And Olivia is the CEO of Salary Coaching and HerMoneySchool.com. As an internationally sought after speaker, Olivia is a recognized expert on the gender wage gap and all things related to women, money, and their careers. Now, she's considered one of the top negotiation, career, and purpose coaches in the US, Olivia frequently teaches workshops for organizations ranging from small startups to Fortune 10 companies and Ivy League business schools. So we are incredibly happy, Olivia, to have you join us here today. Is there anything else about yourself that you think our audience should know before we continue on into the meat and potatoes of today's event?
Well, hi everyone. Yeah, I mean, that's a lovely bio, but quite frankly, I'm not really doing much these days. As as you'll come to find out. I mean, yes, I've done all those things, but I probably should update it to say, like, you know what? I'm just doing whatever I pick and choose, which is right now spending most of my time either in New Hampshire or Costa Rica surfing.
You know, that can't be a real popular option, right? For me, it's like, anchored to the desk, right? That's what you want to do. If you can choose to do anything is, ignore the beach, ignore the surfing. I love that, like, that's what you're picking and choosing to do, because that is stuff that is absolutely well worth your time. I love it. Very timely too. We had a chat yesterday, kind of similar stuff about like setting boundaries and respecting your, taking care of yourself and that kind of stuff. And that struck a chord with me. So I'm even more excited for today's
But
event.
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Like when I listened to that bio, I'm like, yeah, that was me 2 years ago. And then I was like, screw this. This is, I mean, yes, all of those accolades are beautiful. And it's great that I get to work with some incredible companies. Now I'm writing a book with Forbes.
Wow.
That's not life. Like, that's not what I'm living for.
And I think it's important, right? It's important to say these kinds of things because you can have like a crazy, like just hectic, fast paced, doing all the things at all the times. And yeah, that sounds impressive, but if that doesn't work for you, it's totally fine to be like, yeah, that was 2 years ago me. Now I want different things. I know I need different things. I love that.
Right. It's like about chasing your freedom, not accolades. And that's something that it took me a little while to figure out. And
I'm still internalizing that one. That one's hard. So yes, I'm with you on that journey. Okay, so before we dive on into the questions today, last thing we're going to talk about are some of the main takeaways for today. Now, the reason we want to share these, we came up with these main takeaways both from conversations with Olivia, as well as by reviewing the questions that you all submitted when you registered for today's session. So all of that to say, this is what we're going to try and get to, but you are all in the driver's seat today. You have the power to control where the conversation goes. So if you want to dive in deeper on the thing that Olivia is talking about, let us know. If you want, an explainer of something that we're talking about, let us know. If you have a question and you submitted it and you're not sure if we're going to get to it, send it again. Send it in the chat right here. So that way I can pull and make sure that the people that are here, if you took time out of your day to be here with us live for the recording, y'all get prime treatment. Get the most out of today. We want to do our best to make sure that all the time that you spend with Power to Fly is well worth it. So tell us what you want to know, and that way we can make sure that today is as valuable as possible for each of you. So we're going to try and discuss, the importance of generating multiple sources of revenue, and kind of a lot of the details around that. We're going to discuss the role investing can play in your financial freedom. And then we're also going to talk about some first steps to outline your financial plan going forward. So Olivia, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and pull us up. So we're going to pull up our questions here. One of the ones that I kind of want to start with to level set, can you help us, kind of give a baseline for those of us who are unfamiliar with the idea of revenue streams or side hustles, or, if people are coming out of a generation that was not, kind of drummed into us from far too early an age that you should just be doing all the things. What should people know about this kind of stuff, side hustles, revenue streams, income, that kind of stuff?
Totally. Well, here's the short of it. You and your collection of experiences, all of the cultural life experience, everything that you've accumulated throughout your life is worth its weight in gold. And as a result, quite literally between your ears, you are sitting on a gold mine. And none of us are ever taught that we can build multiple revenue streams from that gold mine. We're taught like, oh yeah, go find that 9 to 5, go find that job, or go build that one business, and you'll get money and you'll get rich. truth be told, that is not true. Anyone who has passed that 7 or 8 or 9 or 10-figure mark understands it's not about one revenue stream. It's about building multiple revenue streams. And the first thing I want to say about this is just don't feel intimidated by that concept. Don't think that you have to be an investor, you have to be a businesswoman. I want to destigmatize those words because I know that as women, they scare us, pardon my French, shitless. It's like we've already got enough on our plate as it is, taking care of everybody else. To then become a businesswoman or an investor, it's daunting. So I want you to remove those words from our vocab today and let's just talk about revenue streams. And revenue streams, you take just one tiny little step at a time. And that revenue stream becomes a business. And you can leave it on autopilot and then you start another one. And then you start another one. And another one. And then next thing you know, you're like, whoa, I did that. That's fantastic. So that's something that we really are not taught. But if you understand that concept, and that's my goal here today, is to make you realize you're sitting on a gold mine. You just need to understand how to mine those pipelines. And here's the thing, there's nothing that I can tell you today is going to teach you how to do that. You already have all of the tools.
That's a powerful statement right there, that we have the tools to do this ourselves already, especially like you said, this is a daunting kind of thing for a lot of people, right? Because I'm also in the same boat where it's like, I don't want to start a second career. I want to be able to handle the things that I have now, but starting a business is a full-time job as well. So I love that idea of kind of starting with something that is easy. Yeah.
Just think of a revenue stream, right? And here's the other thing is just we feel internally that it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to fulfill my career as it is, let alone build another revenue stream, right? Even if it's just as simple as selling something on eBay. Just find something, go sell it on eBay, see what doesn't work, and then you're gonna find next day, you're gonna be like, you know what, I'm gonna sell this other thing when I have a couple minutes. And then 3 weeks later, you're gonna be like, you know what, I can also sell that. And the process starts simplifying itself. And I'm just picking eBay just for the sake of simplicity, right? But here's the thing, you also, in your head, you were endowed with a dream. Everybody in here has what I call a big, hairy, ambitious goal. You have a dream, and whoever your creator is or you believe is, endowed you with this dream. But not only with that, you also have everything it takes to make it happen. You see, I wasn't born with the dream to become a professional football player. Why? Because I don't have those tools. That's just not within my realm of possibilities. But you wouldn't have that dream, that ambition, that nagging little thing in the back of your head if you also weren't fully equipped to make it happen. You just need to overcome yourself and your fears and the lack of resourcefulness that you're stuck in order to get to making money with those dreams.
Excellent. Yes. All right. Let's start doing that, right? Let's figure out how we can, get some more information from you on how we can do that in, the best way possible. So let's talk about some examples of options that are not good revenue sources. I feel like this might be kind of the first step for a lot of people. I have a friend who loves making art, and she posts it on Etsy. That's what she does. She loves it. Her stuff's also very, very, very specific, and, fits and starts when she feels like it, that kind of stuff. So for her, that's not a scalable revenue stream, and it's not, a viable plan. So can you share with us some things that people, that are very common for people want to have as a good revenue source, but it's not really a great way to start off?
You want the canned version or the honest version?
Always honest, please.
I see a lot of people diving into course creation these days, and the promise that it's $1 billion industry and that it's only going to grow. And online education is absolutely going to grow. But here's the thing, paying $997 or $19.97 for a course is, quite frankly, nowadays Not only are there way too many courses, people don't consume the course. Like 9 out of 100 people actually consume a full on course. But furthermore, there are so many platforms popping up everywhere where you literally pay $30 and you can access, someone's already hacked all of the major like courses and players in this industry. So like that course that entrepreneur told you could buy for $19.97, which normally sells but for $4,000.
I
You
love the
actually,
normally sells for. That's the best.
that's sheer bullshit. Pardon my French. Like I'm just super straightforward. I have no filter, and I apologize if I'm offensive, but you can pay literally $30 to like, I don't know, Google Turbo courses and stuff like that. Like there's websites where you literally pay $30 and you access thousands upon thousands of ripoffs of these courses. Like it's not a sustainable method. And honestly, like we had that realization last year because I was totally doing courses too. And they were doing well, but when I saw this, I was like, whoa, no, this is screwed. We need to figure out like this has got to change. So what we've done is like just said like, you know what, not selling anything at a high ticket price anymore, building an app and selling everything for dirt cheap. We drip in new content every week. It's a community, it's all of those things. It's not hackable though, because of how we deliver our content. And that's something that I really think is super, super important. But when it comes down to like, really, am I actually accurate and truthful in saying that you shouldn't be creating a course? I don't really know. Like, I know that you have a genius zone. And I know that if you truly understand the want of your audience, not the need, the want, right? Everybody's going to buy it. And that's two very different things. Like, we like to go out shopping. We don't like to be sold. You see what I'm saying? So it really, are you on the right market? And are you positioning yourself the right way? Is really what it comes down to.
Okay. So now that we've talked a little bit about, this idea of like, okay, that's not sustainable and here's why. We had a lot of people that wrote in questions based around the idea of they wanted something that they could maintain with very little effort. I know like I've been looking into like things like laundromats or car washes that kind of passive income streams, right? So are there any revenue options where this might, this idea of either set it and forget it, or at least a very low effort, return, is this possible with, certain options, or, what would you tell someone that wants to know, like, what can I do that's going to have a, little effort, but still have payoff?
Here's the thing. I want to make sure that what I'm encouraging you to do is understand that, again, if you build something that you're passionate about and that gold mine that you have in here, how to automate it is going to become self-evident. You see, at any given point in time, I have probably 7 or 8, now 8 revenue streams coming in. Most of them are on autopilot. Some of them, like workshops and such, they're not, of course. I have to show up for them and do things that I love, like coming in here and speaking with you. But say, for example, one of my revenue streams is working really well. You would have thought that it would have taken a lot of effort to build, but truth be told, it runs itself. My team runs it, and it's an outsourcing agency for coaches in the Philippines. We have, I think, like 18 employees, and they help coaches and consultants and people who are trying to build their own businesses start their own companies here. And it's not that, like, I literally am just the face of it. But I do nothing. I do nothing for it other than write the check at the end of the month and receive the money. That's all.
I love that. I love that idea. I mean, honestly, weirdly enough, my therapist was telling me the other day that she used to own a cleaning business, like a professional, like office cleaning and that kind of stuff. And the second she said it, I was like, how have I never thought about this?
But that's the thing, is like, we think that, I could only do like something super tiny. I could only have like an art shop in Etsy. When truth be told, you can dream much bigger. It's just, and everything is doable. You just need to figure it out.
Love that. Okay. So one of the things that a lot of people also asked us was, stuff around the idea of how much money do you need to have to have in place or have available? Because there's a lot of us that especially people that really need our second and third and fourth revenue streams. Most of us aren't doing it because we're already sitting on wads of cash, right? Most of us are thinking like, okay, well, I need to bring more money in, and how am I going to do it? So in terms of things like, how much money should you be prepared to put towards efforts like this? Is this a case of what you're spending should be equivalent to like how much you believe in what you're doing? Or, how should people start thinking about it when they're considering things like, how do I budget for this?
I'm a super stubborn Aries, like super hard-headed. And when it gets in my head that I'm going to generate revenue out of nothing, I'm going to generate revenue out of nothing. So if you're using the fact that you're not sitting on wads of cash as an excuse, well, guess what? You get to keep your excuse and your lack of cash as well. It's just flat out like where there's a will, there's a way. You can make it happen. Maybe you don't have a marketing budget. Maybe you can't run Facebook ads, but you know what? You can use your LinkedIn profile to connect with people. You are sitting on thousands of emails on your Gmail list. Like that I just don't think money should. My own fashion house and I have to do these things. Well, maybe you don't start by opening your own fashion house. Maybe you start by opening a fashion advising consultancy and you reach out to some friends and you're like, hey, listen, I'm just starting this little business. Can I advise you? And you pay me $10, pay me $15 just so that I can get started.
I absolutely love that idea. Okay, so from what you're telling us here, are we supposed to like kind of glean that idea of, take what you want to do and then break it down to like the most achievable steps kind of thing? Or is it something where like maybe you need to rethink like how you expect this to look kind of, is it about aesthetics? Like is that correct? Like when we're listening to you say all these things, like, is it correct that we should, kind of have our, this is what I want to do. I want my fashion house, but be thinking in terms of like, okay, how far can I break this down to reach a place that's affordable and available for me to do?
What would be correct is that you don't listen to me at all.
Okay.
And I'm being very sincere here. You see, the longer you listen to people who tell you, you need a website, you need this, you need this, you need the other, you need social media, you need all of these things, the more overwhelmed you're going to become with actually taking action. So I guess if there's one thing that I'm telling you that you should absolutely use as a metric to success is your gut instinct. It is perfectly in tune with what your next step should be. But you get caught up in the shiny object syndrome in this latest course that taught you that this is how you need to be present in social media. And this is how you do things. And this is how, like, if something that they're teaching you resonates, like, that's cool. But if you're starting to feel that pit in your stomach, like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not on social media all day long. I'm not doing this. I'm doing that. Listen, I don't have a huge social media presence because I don't want to. I don't care to send emails every day. I don't care to be posting. I don't care any of those things. That's not what I want to have my life be about. And guess what? It's working. It's working just fine. And I'm not tied to that hamster wheel.
I absolutely love that. You're giving me hard feels into something. My mom had sent me a meme this morning. It's from Adam Grant. And it was about how when it comes to big decisions, you don't need a map, you just need a compass, because it's not about necessarily taking the exact right path to get where you're trying to go. Anything that's taking you closer to what you want is going to be helpful. And so the idea really helped me in terms of like not thinking of things as like, okay, this is the choice I have to make. Am I choosing right or wrong? It's not always that easy.
But here's the thing. It really is. It really is that. Because if you just like stop looking at social media, stop looking at everything, and you just sit in front of in front of a desk, turn all technology off, Maybe you need a piece of paper and something to write with. And you list the things that energize you, and you list the things that deplete you. That compass, that roadmap is going to be self-evident. And you didn't have to go anywhere to find it. You see, the clue is, and I guess if there is such a thing as a secret, which should be self-evident to everyone, is follow what energizes you. If whatever you're doing is depleting you, if you're getting daunted by posting a million different posts on social media and like mapping out a million strategies, and you're like, how am I going to ever implement this? But I feel like it's what I need to do. Move away. Move away. Stop what you're doing. Do not re-engage with whatever you're doing until you feel fully connected and driven.
Love that. As an ADHD sufferer, following the dopamine is basically how I live my entire life. And so, yeah, I love that idea. We
went to the same party. I have ADHD too.
Yes, it's a terrible party favor, isn't it? But do what we can with it.
You know what? I quite honestly, I think it's a superpower.
I try to have it be a superpower. Mixing with my bipolar, it makes it a little hard to figure out if I'm like actually on like the superpower track or like the super villain track. But I totally get you where it's like, yeah, but like there are certain things that like absolutely energize me because ADD or ADHD, I should say. I was brainwashed into ADD as a separate thing for, the entirety of my life. Yeah. All right. So I want to know, let's dig in a little bit more on your journey here, because I want to know how early did you start like thinking about these kinds of things? Like we had a lot of people that asked, how far in advance should you be planning this? Is there an age that's too early to start thinking about it? What if I'm, 60 plus? Is that too late? What are your thoughts on this? How did you get started? How early were you into, let's say, like career age? So what, 22 plus, that you started thinking about multiple revenue sources?
The decision to make money and to retire and to be fully financially free is something that I know every single woman has thought about since the age, I don't know, 6 or 7, since she had that dream that was ingrained in her that she could do anything she wanted, and then kind of society started happening and we realized, we can't. So I think it was ingrained in me as early as it was for everybody else. It was a matter of making that decision. For me, the first decision was, I'm sick and tired of not being financially independent, whether that was from my parents, from my partner, from my spouse, or just being able to say, you know what? I did it for myself. I'm leaving the legacy to my children that if they make the decision that they're going to run the show, they can actually pursue that. So I would say that for me, the point where I said, I want to be able to retire, and this is the last time I can say it's 37 because I turn 38 tomorrow. Getting older. The point where I said, fuck it, I'm going to retire at 37. I want to be able to not work a single day in my life if I don't want to, was probably 1.5 years ago. When I got off that hamster wheel, I was like, no, I'm done. It's either on my terms or nobody's terms. Like, and here's the thing, one of the things that really impacted me, and perhaps this is one of the reasons why I really gravitate to helping women, is that, there's a lot of talk around like the patriarchy and that we've subjugated ourselves to men, but I've always felt that, the cards have probably, like inequality, were a little bit skewed in one way or another, but there's a big part of the equation that's missing, and that is women taking responsibility for their futures and deciding that, you know what, I'm just not going to put up with this anymore. And instead of complaining or feeling like I'm a victim, I'm just going to go ahead and do something about it. And for me, that was not triggered because I was just rebelling against the system. For me, that happened because, first my dad died. Then my brother, my only brother and best friend died. And then, my husband went to war. And then, like, all of these instances in where I looked up to these men as like the gold standard, the infallible, like they're going to take care of me no matter what. They left, they were gone. And that void, right, made me really have to internalize, like, you own your own show. It's nobody else's responsibility but yours to be financially independent, if that's what you want. If you want to be independent, then cool, go for it, but don't complain because you already have everything you need.
I love that. I like the idea of, like you said, kind of taking that power back, or at minimum giving ourselves permission to not accept something, to not accept like less than what we're trying to get. Like that is a very, I feel I have a really hard time with this, so I'm sure I'm not the only one. But yeah, that is powerful to be able to say, to be able to decide like, okay, well, this is what I want. Since you mentioned it, I wanted to make sure we touched on this. So obviously the title of the chat is how you retired at 37. What does retirement mean to you? Because I feel like some people think retirement and they think like, well, you're going to move to Florida and you're going to play golf, 5 days a week. And, there's very stereotypical ideas that I think people have when they think retired, but obviously it means something different to a lot of different people. So for you, what does retirement look like?
Yeah, a lot of people assume that in retirement you stop money generating activities. I'm like, retirement for me basically means anything that I don't absolutely want to do. Like, I absolutely love the chats with Power to Fly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here, right? So if I feel like going to Costa Rica and buying a house, if I feel like going to South America and buying a house, or, adopting a child from Burundi, things that I am currently doing, like that is retirement for me. Am I still making money? Am I still launching? I just launched our app not too long ago. Like, those are things that I'm still doing, but I am not doing them because of the money. I could just simply say, you know what? I'm financially independent. My money is growing for itself right now, and I don't have to work a single day in my life, but I do it because I want to do it. So, and it's a very subtle difference, right? Doing things because you have to or because you want to. If I don't want to write an email, I'm just not going to write an email, period. People are not going to get an email. That's okay. If I want to outsource the email writing, I can do that too. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this, like, kind of thinking of being able to think about it in these terms, because I feel like I never thought like this. Like, my whole thing was like, okay, what do I have to do? Because I need a job, I need to eat, I need to, live in a house that's not made of cardboard. So, what do I need to do? And I feel like there's a lot of people that are like that. We need money. You need money to survive. And so I like that idea of trying to set these ideas of like, what would retirement look like to me? What would that look like? And then break it down of like, how do you get there?
And that's exactly the exercise that everybody should be doing in here. It's like, what would retirement look like for you? Do you actually want to retire and move to Florida and like sit on the golf course all day long? All right. Well, let's reverse engineer that. What do you need to do in order to make that financially viable? How much money do you need to generate? And then how can you ensure that, perhaps you invest that money so that it grows at a sustainable rate for you to do that? If you seriously like don't want to touch any building of revenue streams for you to retire. Catherine here is asking a question. What was your first revenue stream and why did you start with that business?
Ooh, I love that question. Thank you, Catherine.
So, I mean, my first revenue stream was my career. Like, I went into the workforce just like everybody else. And then when the Great Recession hit, I got laid off, just like so many people. And you guys probably have no idea, but I I remember it vividly. I was unemployed and I applied to 1,231 jobs during the Great Recession. 1,231 jobs. Even McDonald's rejected me twice. So to think at that point that I would be here by the time I was 37. Never, never. So, yeah. But anyhow, I ended up getting 5 interviews, 0 job offers. And gosh, it was terrible. It was terrible. And I know we don't have too much time to jump into that story because we have a lot of questions to go through. But if I fast forward that was like one of those pivotal moments that made me decide never again, never again. And I changed the way that I was doing this job application process and realized that it wasn't that the workforce was rejecting me. It was just that I had it all wrong. How to land my dream job was not through that online job portal or with the traditional resume route. And quite honestly, I went from 2 weeks later after having like that meltdown point of 1,231 job applications rejected, to landing my dream job within literally a matter of weeks with my dream pay, working at the equivalent of the World Bank, but for Latin America, running projects, managing people in different countries, like crazy mind-blowing. So my career track kind of always kept me on the side of managing money, managing people, doing compensation. So that was kind of like my professional training, setting price tags on people, basically. And the point in which I jumped over fully onto entrepreneurship was when I realized that there was this like big noise going around about the gender wage gap and how companies and government need to enforce equality and all these things. And I was like, you know what? That's not true. I'm the one setting salaries on behalf of companies, and I'm using government regulations. And quite frankly, I mean, they're pretty good. They're relatively good. So I actually went out to prove that there was no gender wage gap. And what ended up happening in looking at thousands of salary recommendations from my end and from my peers in other compensation departments was that indeed, when we'd recommended a salary range, like from 0 to 100 for women, they'd be hired hovering around the 25th percentile of what we'd recommended. And if it was a guy who was being brought in, he'd hover around the 50th percentile. So there was a gap, but it was like, whoa, what gives? What's going on here? So I went down that rabbit hole, and really what it came down to was that women either didn't know their worth, or even if they did, they didn't know how to ask for it. And at that point I was like, this is my jam. I'm so passionate about this. I'm going to dive straight in. Now, did it suck at first because I didn't have any of the tools that I'm sharing with you right now? It sucked for the first couple of years, for sure. But eventually, I found mentors. I found people who were guiding me in the right direction. And quite honestly, that's why we started Her Money School, because it's like, we're not taught how to really think about making money as women, be that in our careers, be that in our businesses, or even that money mindset side of things.
Okay, so kind of following that line there about like, the idea of what we're taught about how to make money and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of us that don't have any experience with investing. And you have talked about how that's like a big part of how you're able to retire. How much should we be basing our planning about, revenue streams, and that kind of stuff? How much weight should we be putting on something like investments as opposed to, a small business or something?
Here's the thing. When it comes down to investing, it is such a daunting thing for women to think about, being an investor. It's just such a man's world from our vantage point, right? So we think of it as like, I'm not there yet. I don't even have money to invest, like, let alone like become an investor. It feels so daunting. But here's the thing. With very little to no money, you can get started. Like here's what I would suggest that you do. Start saving a couple of dollars here and there. Get yourself like $200. Like if you can, in one way, even if it's like, if you can ask your mom, your dad, whatever, your spouse, your partner, ask someone for $100, $200. Open yourself an Ellevest account. Now, I love Elevest. I'm totally not endorsed by them, but I think they do a brilliant job in getting them started into the investing world, which I think you can open an account with like just $100. And if you're a guy watching this, listen, Wealthfront is also a very straightforward tool that is a safe way and a safe place to get you investing. And here is the thing. It doesn't have to be big. You can just hop on over and like send $10 a month. Maybe if you can afford to do 50, right? But the magic of what you're going to see happens once you open that account, once you take that baby step to like put an auto deposit every month of $5, $10, you're going to realize it might not be much, but there you go. You're an investor.
Every drip makes a
And
little, right?
that like switch that happens is so empowering, because all of a sudden you're like, well, shit, I didn't know it was that, but I am. I'm an investor.
All right. So when people are kind of trying to get started in this, especially, if you're coming from, like you said, that idea of like, this isn't really for me, I'm not quite sure how to do this. What type of investments do you recommend? Like, what was your first, toe dipping in the water? Did you go with something like Ellevest, or did you kind of go in on a different, but also like kind of low risk thing for yourself?
Yeah. And here's the thing, like I could spend a lot of time talking about stocks, bonds, ETFs, NFTs, all of those things. But I know that perhaps our viewers here just not there in that point of the conversation. So I think it would be pointless to take you down that path if we're still just afraid of the whole concept of investing. So I am truthfully someone who is super pragmatic, and I will outsource anything and everything that I don't need to know about. So when it comes down to investing, I do have my own stocks. I do play around now, but now that I've learned, I play with buying stocks and trading and doing all of that stuff. I do on my own terms. And a lot of people say that like they don't actually like Robinhood, but it's an app that actually allows you to play with your money once you have that disposable cash. And it's really fun because I use it to teach my kids. They love Roblox. And we kind of like track the stocks and like, oh, Starbucks, let's buy Disney. And I'm teaching my kids to invest. And I'm like, okay, well, now you got $100. Like, where are you going to invest it? What are you going to do? And then we check in every week and it's like, oh, crap, the market tanked. But that's okay. In a couple of weeks, it's probably going to pick back up, right? So, and there's a lot of different platforms. There's Fidelity, there's all sorts of stuff. I have personally found that both, if you're going to get started, Ellevest and Wealthfront is a place where you can just simplify your life. The fees are minimal relative to everything and everybody else out there charging you things. And you really don't need to know that much about it. Just whatever you need to do to get yourself to that feeling of being in control of your money and having your soldiers, like your dollars, growing for you. That's what we're aiming for. So don't get wrapped up in learning how to invest. If that's not your thing, then it's not your thing. If you start learning about it and you get jazzed up, then you know what? Maybe it is your thing. Maybe it is something that excites you. But for the first step is to get you over that hump of thinking, I cannot do this. Because when you realize, you know what? I can grow money, it's a whole different ballgame. Because these are the three main things that women struggle with when it comes down to money. It's making money, as in finding that job, figuring out how to build that revenue stream, keeping money, which is, all right, once it's in my account, why is it seeping out instantly? And then the third one is actually growing money. So if I can get you to like stabilize in all three areas, that's when money actually starts working for you and it starts growing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that idea of, getting that baseline so that way you can keep building on it, because you're never going to have that understanding or be able to, build that knowledge if you don't have a base to put it on. It kind of reminds me, my husband is the one that does all of the investing and that kind of stuff. But like, I've had to kind of take the same tack with a lot of our home repairs. This is our first house we've ever owned ourselves. And there's been a lot of stuff that I have not known how to do. Plumbing is not something I ever was like, that sounds super interesting. I should look into plumbing because, it's not, I have not traditionally seen a lot of female plumbers, but you know what? I now know how to fix several things that are broken in my house because
yeah. Like, how proud do you feel about that?
Yeah. And I feel great. You know what I love now? Power tools. You know what I want for Christmas? I want a Home Depot gift card. That's what I want. And did I want that 8 years ago? No. What was I gonna do with it? Buy more paint colors or something? Yeah. But now I know, this is something that, is it my passion? Am I going to become a plumber? No. But being able to do it for myself,
it opens a lot of doors, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. And honestly, half the reason I did it was because I saw this girl on TikTok she does construction, all kinds of stuff. She's amazing. But her whole thing is about how if men can doing something that men make look harder than it is. That's her favorite thing. Is to be able to be like, oh, and guess what? Here's how you do this thing that they've way overcomplicated to the point that you think you can't really do this and this isn't for you. You can do this. If a man can do this, you can do this.
You can do it. And that's so true. That's the thing. It's investing is actually not that hard. But starting to explain all of those complicated terms is the exact way that it's been explained to you before, and you've probably read about it before. And you're like, this is too complicated. It's really not that complicated. You put a little bit of money each month into this little pool that safely or unsafely grows every month. And you let it sit there for as long as you can possibly let it sit. And
when you say little money, people need to know, I truly used to do this with pocket change. And I would have maybe $4 at the end of 6 months, but at least it was the $4 that I knew I had. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how small it is. Progress is progress.
It is. Yeah. Now, I will say one thing to that. Saving is important, but in our minds, it's not the same as growing money.
Yeah.
Saving money is kind of like piling your little soldiers together, which is important. And of course you need money for a rainy day. Most people don't. So that's a whole different dilemma. But it's not as empowering to save money as it is to realize that you can grow money. It makes the difference for most people between that scarcity mindset and that growth mindset. Realizing that I can get more money rather than having to save my way to becoming rich. And that's a big, that's something that my husband and I have always butted heads on. He's a saver, I'm a grower. And you know what? Thankfully, it works. He saves his money, I grow my money, all good. But yeah. I'm always kind of cautious when people are like, yeah, just save your money and eventually you'll become a millionaire. No, your 9 to 5 is not going to make you a millionaire. Rarely do people make enough money to save their way to the millions.
Yeah. All right. So, okay, let's say that you are coming out of this mindset of you think you just have to save and you don't know anything about that investing. What kind of questions should you be asking yourself or asking an investment professional that you're talking to? What are if you have 2 or 3 things that we really shouldn't forget about, or don't forget to ask this, what should you be thinking about if you are trying to get this ball rolling?
I would not call someone who's going to give you investment advising. I would go with the safe path. Again, go with something that is solidly going to put you in a situation where there is no room for, they could really screw up and send you a note at the end of the year saying hey, yeah, the COVID, the market tanked, sorry, your money's gone. That should not be your first goal. Your first goal, if you are just starting at this, is to get a minimum amount of capital growing immediately. in the safest, least expensive way possible.
When you
How do
say
you answer that
safest, what
question?
does that mean? Like when you say safest, are you talking like don't spend more than like don't
So
risk more than you can afford to lose? Like what do you mean
that's like
safely?
safely, I mean, in a diversified portfolio that is going to give you basically guaranteed returns, right? So, like if you go to Wealthfront, um, Olivest, they're going to give you options. Like they're going to walk you through, like, okay, how fast do you want to grow this money? If you want to grow it faster, it might involve more risks. Like you might have to have a portfolio that is a little bit more volatile, but you could also invest it in a portfolio that's a little bit more stable. And it might take you a little bit longer to get to where you want to go, but you get to make that decision whenever you're using any of these applications, which make sure, first and foremost, wherever you go, the fees. I don't want them to screw you over with the fees because these are robo investments. So do a search. Top investment apps or the least costly, like there's so many resources out there for you to figure out which one's the least expensive and what does it look like to invest with them in a safe portfolio, right? So get yourself in the game. That's the first step at the least expense to you and with the safest return. Because our goal, our first goal is to get you to grow money, to get you to understand that you are fully capable of growing money. And you're going to see that first month when your account grew like $2, like, well, hell, I grew $2. Like it's so empowering in a way that I can't describe it because you
I can
own
see it
that.
on your face. It's wonderful. I love this. That that it's honestly very infectious. I know they're excited. I use NerdWallet for basically any money research thing I have to do, and they also have something very similar, like kind of walking you through steps, and they do sort of not Better Business Bureau kind of thing, but like I just like it because they road test a bunch of stuff for you. But all right, so before we run out of time today, the one thing that I do want to talk about, a lot of people when it comes down to the planning, they wanted to know how do you know when it's like when you've reached that point that you can retire? How long should you keep like full-time employment parallel to your other revenue streams?
So, what I would say is understand what your quality of life costs are. Like, what is your quality of life? And what do you want to have sustained? Right? So, like, my husband pays for certain things. He has no intention ever retiring, and I have no intention in paying for those things that he's paying for, right? Can I? Absolutely. But what it means to decide that you're ready to retire, it means I've put this on autopilot. It doesn't need me to run. Maybe I can check in on it. And financially, what I get each month out of this revenue stream is exactly what I need to continue not only just spending my money the way I want to spend it, but continue to grow my money. Because here's the thing, you want to be growing. Again, like the goal is to grow. It's how can you grow with least effort, but maximum impact ultimately, right? How can you continue to grow your money sustainably in a way that it's not going to stress you out, in a way that it's not going to overload you? And that part of it should be invested, but also think about other revenue streams that you can build. So I want to make sure that even though, yeah, I want to grow money through investing, I also need to understand that you're a freaking genius. You have everything it takes to build revenue streams. You just need to sit down and figure out what that $1 million idea. And actually, we do have a free challenge in the Her Money School app. I don't know if you can share it here. I think I shared the link.
Yeah. All right. So we've got a little less than we've got 5 minutes left. Before we try and tackle one more question before we go, what else did you want to share, about like Her Money, all that kind of stuff? Like what do you want to make sure our audience leaves with today?
Oh, there's a bunch of free tools in there for you to like just start thinking about what is that $1 million idea? Because I want to get you to think about this genius zone that you're sitting on from a very different vantage point, from the vantage point of like, oh, I'm fully capable of doing this. And there's all sorts of tools in there. Like this is like where I just like ripped all my courses that were thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and just said like, you know what, let's strip it. Part of these things are going to be completely free, but if you want like my negotiation tactics or how we've built businesses, just, you know, pay the $15 per month and you get everything. But all in all, what I really want your viewers here to go check out is her $1 Million Challenge, which really helps you hone in on that $1 million idea. Like, not, you don't spend, most of us in here, or most people in here have likely never spent a week, an entire week thinking about that $1 million idea.
Very cool. All right. I shared the link for that you had sent me earlier for hermoneyschool.passion.io. Where can people, you know, keep up with you, follow what's going on with your various projects? What, you know, where can we direct people?
You can check out hermoneyschool.com. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm always available to connect. Also check us out on Instagram. I think it's at her.moneyschool. I think. Like I said, I create the content, like I write the stuff out, but I have no idea about posting stuff.
Okay.
Because I just don't care. But hey, connect with me either on Facebook, wherever you want to connect. Like I'm out there. I know that I'm out there. I just couldn't tell you how.
I got you. That's good. Okay. One of the last things I want to try and tackle here. So for as far as planning, all right. So people have watched this whole video that we've just talked about, and they want to get started. So if they want to start planning, what are, let's say, like the first 3 steps they need to do to get that process going?
First is decide that you're going to do this. Like, decide that you're worthy of retiring. Decide that you're worthy of becoming a millionaire. And then sit down and think, all right, what if I could do all of this on my terms? What would that look like? Because once you make that decision, the next logical step is give yourself permission to dream and stop thinking in the way that you've been trained and conditioned to think, that money is evil and that when money comes in, it needs to go out very, very quickly because you're going to be a bad, rich person. Right. And then
I love that idea of being a bad, rich person. Like my idea of being rich is being able to like go to Target and pay for everything that the person in front of me is buying. Like, I want to be able to go out and do like just truly random acts of kindness and money sharing. Like, that's what I want to be able to do. But like you're saying, you know, you kind of have to know what does your goal look like? You know, I don't just want to sit on the beach. That's what
so many people will look at, like, you know, people with private jets, or like they'll think rich people, Kim Kardashian, right? They don't necessarily think of like Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa flew around in a private jet and was a billionaire. Like, you don't associate money with humble, good people. You associate it with the rich assholes because, quite frankly, rich assholes have a lot more visibility than the poor ones. So those are the ones who get the buzz and you get to see them and hear about them. But that's not all of wealthy people out there. So start deciding, you know, I'm okay with getting wealthy. I'm okay with making money. How would I do it if it were on my terms? And then what is that next logical, tiny baby step? And then what's the next one and the next one?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been absolutely wonderful. We are almost out of time for the day, but again, Olivia, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this afternoon. It has been great to get to chat with you for an hour. I love all of this. I'll definitely be sharing this with some of my friends, definitely rewatching it next week while I'm going through and editing my own stuff. So thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your time and your expertise.
With Power to Fly, anytime. You guys are freaking amazing.
Yes, we love to hear it. All right. For everybody that is watching us at via the YouTube stream, thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited to see so many more people getting to take part in these events and really, make the most of these resources. If this was your first event with Power to Fly, thank you so much for coming. We are so happy that you found us, and we can't wait to see you on hopefully many more events. If you are one of our frequent flyers and we see you all the time, thank you so much for coming. I love seeing our familiar faces. Yvonne, there you are. I love seeing all of these, familiar faces. It's so, so great to really build that connection. So thank you to all of you. That's going to be it for us today, but I hope you all have a happy, healthy, safe, wonderful rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend, get well rested, and then tackle that next week with how you are going to make yourself a millionaire, how you are going to, retire at whatever your ideal age is.
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
Okay,
thanks to all of you.
You deserve it.
Yes. All right. Have a nice weekend, y'all. Bye.